think I've talked about this movie before on the channel. I think I have. I definitely remember seeing it and doing a reaction piece after I saw it. And at the time, I really enjoyed it. And it's one of those movies where I'm very thankful for streaming, because I probably watched this 5 or 6 times because of how cool streaming is. I'm obviously going to get it on Blu-ray in a good release at some point. I'm just waiting for a release with some more special features because I feel that'd be quite cool to dive into how they made the movie. But I'm a fan of this one. I think it's genuinely good. I think a lot of the critique about it does have some validity to it, because in some regards that you can say not much happens. It's a lot of walking, a lot of atmosphere rather than anything particularly concrete, like in terms of characterization. Or I suppose there are some cool sequences constructed in there, but it's still a lot of atmosphere rather than substance, I guess you could say. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there is substance here, but I think you have to view it through a different lens, because this is very much sort of, not exactly, but going more along lines of Terrence Malick, Richard Linklater. The atmosphere is the point. Obviously, Richard Linklater does usually have pretty good characters, but his movies are heavy on atmosphere and the feel that they're real. And obviously, it's still heightened. I mean, some of the key sequences are somewhat cartoonish. They're disgusting and they're awful to look at. They're a bit cartoonish in terms of how over the top they are. But I think it works if you also view this as like, this villainous character clearly has been around. Well, villainous, this supernatural / character, clearly he's been around a long time, and this is almost like the fateful 7th sequel, right down to a returning character being like, oh no, you shouldn't do that, you should do this. I had an altercation with this guy years ago. And if you view it that way, it's pretty cool. I think the nice thing I find about it is just, it's not in a hurry to get anywhere. And for lots of slash movies nowadays, they want to race through things and still not develop characters particularly. And I like that this one is very much, we're going to do everything on the run, so to speak, where it's moving forward constantly in terms of where it's going. And sure, you can say, well, yes, Ian, but still not a lot happens. But I'd argue the same amount happens as in any of slasher movie. It's just, this is minus the bullshit. And by bullshit, I mean this movie's very clever in terms of a lot of the scenes we have with the young cast and the exposition, we only get bits and pieces of it. We're not getting beat over the head with it. For example, the scene of those two, where the two of the female characters, see, I don't even know names because it doesn't matter. Two of the female characters are having a sweet moment by a lake and find out, oh, they like each other, but they're umming and ahhing over it and they haven't really been able to commit. But you view it from a long way away, so you view it from a detached standpoint. And then you get that beautiful sequence where the killer goes into water and slowly approaches. And I think one of the great things I find about this movie is it's the amping up tension. Like, you know where this scene's going, and it goes exactly where you think it's going to go. And that's great, because, like, it's such a clever way of doing it, because some of the movie is subverting expectations, particularly the last part of the movie where they're in the car, and sort of like, you think something's bad is going to happen, and it doesn't. But then other parts of the movie are like, you know something bad's going to happen, and it does happen. And it happens in the most gory way imaginable. And what I think is cool is the movie plays on both those aspects, because on one hand, it's got all hallmarks of typical slasher movie, but on the other hand, it not only puts us in the perspective, or first perspective above shoulder, of the killer, so we see how he just sort of mulches around and all he wants to do is get a necklace back, but also puts across the mundanity of his existence, where this is all he does. He just goes around killing. That's his entire life. So it does a great job for that, and I like it. I think it's a good slasher movie, and it's, for my money, the best one of the better Friday 13th movies. I know it's not Friday 13th, but the fact that this movie didn't kick them up the arse to make more of them, I don't know. Because this movie pairs it to bare essentials. Like, we barely learn anything about these teenagers, but we still learn enough, and it's very, very, very clever. I'm a huge fan of this movie, and I very much want to see a sequel, so definitely check out if you're on Shudder.